The staff members of the Cambodian Children's Fund choose the children at highest risk for their daycare and schools.
The risk at home is a lot of domestic violence down here. That's the most common form of abuse, but there's also some families who have a record of trafficking, so they get priority.
When you say trafficking?
Selling children into prostitution.
They sell their own children?
Cambodia's had quite a history of that.
But those at the Cambodian Children's Fund believe that you cannot help a child without also helping the family.
We don't try and replace the family. They're my kids to me, but I make sure that they're still very well connected to their own families. And the closeness, of course, is determined by the level of risk at home, the level of domestic dispute, dysfunction. But we make sure that every child sees the parents or extended family.
He and his staff also help the parents find jobs, receive medical care, treatment for alcoholism or domestic violence counseling. Neeson's NGO, or non-government organization, also provides vocational training. But with that idea came the need for help. That's when he sent an email to other humanitarian groups in country.
The Latter-day Saints in Cambodia, it was Elder Johnson back then, who worked very hard for us. He actually got us the Star Bakery oven, and then they followed up with facilitating the flour, the nutrient enhancer, got all the extras, the accessories, utensils for us, and they stayed with us through the whole thing. They really pulled it together for us.
Mike and Kathy Johnson of West Jordan served as country directors for Latter-day Saint Charities or welfare services in Cambodia from 2004 to 2006. Scott Neeson provided them with boots and masks and took them to the garbage dump. The smell, the Johnsons say, is overwhelming. And with fires burning constantly underneath, it's difficult to breathe with the smoke.
There are times that it was very difficult. Really, really very difficult. It was hard to not just cry openly. One little kid, he had his picture up on the wall, and the children only speak Khmer, and he went over to the wall, and he could see I was looking at the pictures, and he goes over there and he says, "Kenyom," meaning that's me.
Besides the equipment, the Johnsons helped find workers for his Star Bakery.
Half the staff became returned missionaries from Cambodian or Khmer returned missionaries. We helped him then, and he had hired some staff, and he had to fire some staff because they weren't the role models that he wanted for his children. And so when we found that out, we said, well, we know some people.
Neeson's vision for the children includes helping their mothers develop skills. The women who train in the garment center used to be scavengers in the garbage dump. Now they have their own line of handbags.
That was kind of the first thing that we did with Scott, was we donated those 10 sewing machines. In fact, those are on the upper floor of the bakery. So those 10 sewing machines, which were, of course, were purchased through members' donations to the Humanitarian Fund.
Neeson had not known anything about the faith and was impressed with the missionaries' business knowledge.
It was very pragmatic, it was very well thought out, and the implementation was impeccable. It was a real surprise, real surprise. I know now, of course, that it's very much part of Latter-day Saints.
The Johnsons return the compliment, saying just seeing the children flourishing is wonderful.
I saw the children at the dump and there, and you see them cleaned up and in school and learning and on a computer. You know, from going from that to be sitting there and learning on a computer, and it was, you know, incredible, the change.
They have needs and feelings and dreams and hopes just like anybody else. And to help them to reach some of those was really an awesome opportunity.
Neeson says the vocational facility is now producing 175 nutrient-enhanced loaves every day. The bread goes to the children and their families. With this 6-month training course, more than a dozen young people have found jobs in a commercial bakery or restaurant. And from the restaurant training course, another 20 have found work. Scott Neeson began with a goal of helping 45 children. Now there are 496. He says he's not a man of faith. He struggles with the horrific conditions he sees. But he does have hope.
You see the magic, the resilience in these kids. It goes beyond any kind of rational explanation. They come out of the worst backgrounds and they're just so full of joy.
Neeson says the human condition, in all its degradation, exists here. But with good people to help, lives change.
You give someone dignity, respect and hope and they will change. They can do anything.
The rice fields of Kampong Chhnong province in Cambodia are brown in the dry season, but the farmers who own them have increased production substantially in the last 3.5 years.
I went around and spoke to a number of them, and almost every one of them indicated that personally the amount of rice that they raised on a particular piece of ground doubled in terms of the yield that they received.
Lowell and Cheryl Curtis, Latter-day Saints from Riverton, are serving a humanitarian mission. The farmers they are helping belong to a cooperative and participated in a project with Latter-day Saint Charities and CDAC, the Cambodian Center for Study and Development of Agriculture. After centuries of doing it the same way, the NGO managers and the missionaries persuaded the farmers to change their planting methods. It's called systematic rice intensification, or SRI.
One of the biggest areas that we tried to change the way they think is how they farm. Change the method in which they actually plant rice, how many seeds they plant, how they plant it.
The farmers see a difference not only in their crop size, but in the milling process.
Since we receive this mill rice machine, the farmer come here and testing, and they feel that the rice come out is very good.
He is talking about the rice mill. Latter-day Saint Charities provided the funds to build it. The farmers from the village and surrounding villages financed the machinery. With a larger crop and their own mill, they have enough for their families and plenty of yield to sell.
We charge less, basically, for the farmer come here, and they can earn than before.
And they can earn more because
Yes.
they charge less here to mill the rice.
Yeah.
That's the milling process. That's the raw rice. It's husked, and the milling completed. We have edible, usable rice. The project was intended to focus in on 3 areas: the health of the farmer and his family, their knowledge of how to farm, their management of their resources, meaning their income, and then the 4th element was their relationships, improving their relationships. So it was an intensive effort to affect all aspects of the farmer and his life.
Abuse is often a result of the frustrations that come from poverty. This program focuses on helping Cambodian farmers learn how to change their behaviors.
Addressing substance abuse, addressing spousal abuse, alcoholism, all those elements were addressed, along with many other social problems as well.
But the main emphasis was to help the families raise their standard of living. The program also encourages them to raise other crops, which create a healthier diet and add income. This man was one of the poorest in the village before the project. The NGO workers gave him a pig. Once piglets were born, he was required to give one to another farmer, making the program self-perpetuating. He recently sold most of his pigs for $1,000. He also received 5 chicks. CDAC requires that each farmer build coops and share chickens with others. He and his wife have made hundreds of dollars from them. With diversification came greater earnings. The money from sales now goes here to the savings bank the farmers built. They are moving out of poverty.
$15,000 in savings has been generated by this one savings group in this particular area. Is it one village or more than one village? How many villages? One?
Only one.
Just one village is generated. And before they started this, there was no savings. They understand the principles of thrift and savings and how it'll help benefit their village. This is the finest structure you'll find in this entire village, and it was built by them. There are 200 savings groups throughout the 2 districts that this project operated under. And they're essentially small credit unions that loan to their members or to other people in the villages. And they've saved up, as of the last report, over $100,000 in funds that they're now returning in the forms of loans to other farmers.
And these villagers are not Latter-day Saints. The welfare of the people, Elder Curtis says, is important, not their faith.
In this particular project, the number of beneficiaries would be well over 100,000, I suspect.